The producers and distributors of Tech AV training material welcome you to part 1 of this training program, in which you will learn how to set up and make adjustments using an analog oscilloscope of popular design. An integral part of the program is your workbook. Please be sure that you have read the resource notes before viewing each section of the program. Oscilloscopes are precision measuring instruments and are used extensively in the design, testing and fault finding of electrical and electronic equipment. Unlike an analog or digital multimeter, the oscilloscope, or scope as it is often called, will trace out a picture of the voltage under test by rapidly plotting the changes in voltage over a set period of time. The operator will examine the behavior of the patterns or waveforms displayed on the cathode ray screen and calculate various values relating to the signals under test. When you can read and understand the patterns displayed on the screen, your oscilloscope becomes an invaluable piece of test and measuring equipment. This is Section 1, in which we shall demonstrate the correct procedures necessary to prepare an oscilloscope for practical applications. The most obvious feature of an oscilloscope is the cathode ray screen. It is on this screen that the wave patterns are displayed visually. The screen is divided into squares by vertical and horizontal lines. The distance between any two lines is called a division, and each division is subdivided into 5 smaller divisions. There are 10 horizontal divisions from left to right, and 8 vertical divisions from top to bottom of the screen. The square divisions collectively are known as the graticule. The graticule provides visual reference points to indicate amplitude or voltage variations on the up-down axis and measurements of period or time on the horizontal or left-to-right axis. Let's now consider the basic controls and their settings for normal operation. Most oscilloscopes are mains-powered, and it is most important to ensure that the voltage selector is set to match the normal power line voltage. The front panel is divided up into 4 groups, namely the screen controls, the vertical deflection or input amplifier controls, the trigger controls, and the horizontal deflection or time-based controls. The screen control group consists of the power switch, which to begin with must be in the off position, the intensity or brightness control, which must be turned fully counterclockwise to the minimum position, the focus control, which must be set to mid position, and the trace rotation control, which we will adjust later. Next, the input amplifier controls or the vertical group. Most modern scopes feature 2 input channels, so you will notice that the vertical group consists of 2 identical input amplifiers called Channel 1 and Channel 2. Set both vertical position controls to their mid position. Set the mode control to the Channel 1 position. Set the ×1 ×5 magnification switch to the ×1 position. Set the normal invert switch to the normal position. Set both volts per division controls fully counterclockwise and ensure that both variable volts per division controls are turned fully clockwise to the calibrate position. Finally, set the input coupling switch on both channels to the AC position. Next, the trigger control section. Set the level control to its mid position. Set the mode selector switch to the auto position. Set the slope selector button to the positive slope position. And finally, set the trigger source selector switch to the internal channel 1 position. Moving on to the last group of controls, Set the horizontal position control to mid position. Set the variable control to its mid position. Set the magnification switch to the ×1 position. Set the calibrate variable switch to the calibrate position. And finally, set the time per division switch to the 5 millisecond position. The scope is now ready to be powered up. Connect the unit to the mains power supply using the recommended power lead. Switch on the mains supply and then depress the power on-off switch. The pilot light should immediately glow. Wait for 30 seconds and then adjust the intensity control, turning it clockwise until the trace is clearly visible, but not too intense, as a highly intensified trace could damage the internal surface of the screen. The next step is to adjust the focus control to obtain a sharp, clear trace. Using the Channel 1 vertical position control, position the trace so that it is superimposed on the horizontal center line of the graticule. Adjust the horizontal position control so that the beginning of the trace aligns with the left-hand edge of the left-hand side graticule. If, after having made this adjustment, the trace is not parallel with the horizontal center line of the graticule, turn the trace rotation control until the trace is parallel to the center line. Use the correct adjustment tool to prevent damage to the preset control. Now, all this procedure is a lot for you to remember, so we've set it out in your workbook. If your oscilloscope is a different make or model, follow the instructions given in the operator's manual for preliminary settings and adjustments. After the break, we'll continue with the setup procedures.